everyone. My name is Mike Smith, and 3 years ago I worked as a homeless outreach worker. I worked with homeless teenagers. Basically, these were the kids that society didn't know about, the ones that lived under bridges, abandoned buildings. They'd bounce from couch to couch or place to place, or they would train hop. And these are basically just kids that I felt like the society had just kind of thrown away. And so my job was to help them find stability and resources and maybe get off of a couch and into an apartment, or what would it look like if they went from sleeping under a bridge to some transitional living apartment. And I felt this sense of purpose and passion. And man, when I was a kid, I grew up in small town Nebraska, just this little dot on a map, 2,000 people, no stoplight in my town, the noon whistle blows every day. It's just this like tiny little place, and I used to lay in bed at night and think, man, what am I going to be about when I get out of here? What's life going to be like when I leave this place? Oh, I'm getting some mic check. It's the hair. It's always the hair. Is that better? Can you guys hear me now? All right, good. I thought, man, what am I going to be about when I leave this place? When I leave this small little town? I wanted to be about something. I wanted to be about something big. I wanted to help people. I wanted to change people's lives, but I didn't know how. And I think that's a lot of my generation. We want to be about something big, but we just don't know how to do it. We don't know where to start. What are my resources? Am I going to get my opportunity? And so I was just working as this homeless outreach worker and helping teenagers and doing what I could do to fight for my community and all these kids in all these spaces. And I got a phone call. It was a really simple phone call. It said, hey, Mike, our skate park closed down. We've got all these ramps sitting here. If you want them, you can have them. And I was like, man, seems like a great proposal. I'll take it. I knew they wouldn't fit in my tiny little apartment that I lived at the time, and I was like, I need to put these things somewhere. What am I going to do? So I started thinking about, man, if I started a skate park, what would it look like? Could I help people? Could I help kids? How do you run a skate park? How do you build a skate park? Could I make it a nonprofit, a for-profit? Could it be free? Could it be cheap? All these ideas and things and thoughts are racing through my head, and I'm like, all right, great. I'm just going to start a nonprofit skate park organization. I'm going to figure out how to do it. And then reality set in, and I was like, wait a minute. That 2.4 GPA and that 19 on your ACT didn't really prepare you for this part right here. And I was like, all right, what? By the way, I was really proud of that 19, so all of you 30s out there can just walk away just to get out of here. But I was like, how do I do this? Like, how do I start this? How do I start a nonprofit organization? So I did what any person in their 20s, just like me, would do, and I took it straight to Google. And I was like, all right, I got to figure this thing out. And so I just sit there and I'm like, Google how to start a nonprofit organization, comma, period. I don't know how it works, but I'm just like, enter. And I start seeing things about board of directors. And I'm like, what? I have a skateboard. Does that count? What's a board? Like, what is a board of directors? And I was like, all right, I'm going to start. I need a board of directors. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, who's going to sit on my board? So I just start calling all of my friends' dads. And I'm like, hey, come to this. We're going to have dinner on Tuesday night. Can you come? I go, I want to share an idea with you. And they probably thought it was like some crazy network marketing thing. And I was like, no, really, I just want to share this idea with you. Come. So these 10 guys show up. And I basically sit there, and I just spill my heart to these 10 guys. And I'm like, I want to do this. I want to help kids. I want to start this skate park. I think it can be a big deal. We've got all these ramps that already got given to us. Will you believe in me? And I was just hoping to go like, 3 for 10 or 4 for 10. I'm just like, that seemed about like my luck at the time. And I was like, I can do this. And I went 10 for 10. All 10 of them were like, Mike, we're behind you 100%. Let us know what we need to do. And then I realized it's a roofer and a farmer and a financial guy. And I'm like, how are you guys going to help me? Like, it's like, what are we going to do? And so we just kind of fumbled into this thing. So we tear apart this facility. I put it in a mall. I'm going to drive around Lincoln. I'm like, we're going to put a skate park that kids are going to go to and kids are going to want to be at. And I'm like, the mall, that's where kids hang out. And I'm sure mall security and skateboarders will get along great, and this is going to be awesome. So I was like, yeah, this is going to be a ton of fun. So I open up this skate park. We have this big, giant grand opening. We opened with $300 in our checking account. Rent was $4,000, and I was already a month behind. Bad business decision, I know. But I started. So we went for it, and we made it. And the skate park is happening, and I'm meeting these kids, and I'm learning from these skate kids, and I'm still working as a homeless outreach worker, so I've got this like 9 to 5 homeless outreach worker job, and then I'm working this 5 to 9 skate park job, and I'm loving what's happening to the community, and kids are coming by the hundreds. Just hundreds and hundreds of skateboarders are coming to this skate park just to spend time and skateboard and do something that they love and do something that they're passionate about. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm blown away at the determination that these kids have. They fail trick after trick after trick after trick, and then they succeed and they land one, and it's like high fives, and then they move on, and it's the next trick. And I'm like, wow, these kids are inspiring. In the meantime, I'm just working with homeless kids, working with skate kids. And every Tuesday, I thought, man, my job on Tuesday is to go and feed the people that are downtown. If there's homeless people downtown, my job is to go and feed them. I'm just going to grab my skateboard and do that. So I just grab my board and I start skating around, and every Tuesday over my lunch hour, I would just skate. I'd have a backpack full of stuff. The hygiene kits, socks, bottles of water, bus passes, food. I'm just skating around, I'm just handing these things to these guys. And I'm building relationships with the guys on the streets. The guys that hold up the sign that say, homeless, anything helps, or the guys sleeping on a park bench. These guys are my friends. I'm just skating around and just building relationships with them. They'd hear my skateboard coming, and they'd look, and they'd be like, there's that crazy skateboarder with the long hair, and he always has stuff. Man, get over here. And I'd be like, yeah, I got stuff. Like, you need stuff. Let's do this, And it was just, I just wanted to help people. And it was just me and my skateboard on Tuesday over my lunch hour. And then my friend Steve saw me do it. And it was just Mike and Steve, and we'd skate around. We called it Skate for Change. All of a sudden, it was me and Steve and a couple people, and then 5, and then 10, and then 20, and then 30. And one day I show up at the spot we meet to go do Skate for Change, as we call it, and there's like 40 kids, and I'm like, what am I going to do with 40 14-year-old skateboarders downtown wanting to give stuff out? And I'm like, we're going to go raise hell is what we're going to do, but this is going to be great, so let's do it. And so we just grabbed our skateboards and we just started. And you should see the look on businessmen's faces, most of your faces, as 40 I'm serious, like, we're like skating downtown, and you can see these guys, it's like, what, is that a gang? What are they doing over here? And we come to a stop, and there's the corner, and we get out, and all these kids are handing these guys socks and shaking hands and saying, hey, how are you, whatever. And we have all these great photos of businessmen. They're like, what is that? Like, how is this even possible? And these kids are just doing incredible things. All of a sudden, these 14 and 15-year-old kids are skating around, and they're just feeding people. And I don't know about you guys, but skateboarders don't have the best reputation on the planet, but they're just helping people. And I'm watching all of these skate kids pour their lives and their hearts and their souls into helping people, feeding people. And I'm completely blown away. And I'm thinking back to when I was in high school and I wanted to be about something big and I wanted to change people's lives and I wanted to help people. And I'm looking at all of these kids just helping people and my heart starts racing. I'm like, man, I'm doing that thing I dreamed about doing. I figured it out. And it's completely inspiring to me and I love watching it and it's like feeding off of each other. And then another random day happens, and Red Bull's in town, and there's this like BMX flatland bike expose thing, and they asked me to MC it and kind of say what the tricks the guy was doing. I didn't know any bike tricks. I skate, and so I was just going to make stuff up and be like, ooh, it was a lip-de-loo and a whoop-de-doo. I didn't know it. I was just like, they asked me to do it, and I was like, sure, I'm going to try. But it rained, and so this little bike event gets canceled. And there's this lady, her name's Sarah, she's sitting in the audience today, and she's sitting here, and she's the Red Bull corporate person, and she's basically there, and I just skate off after it's over, and we don't do this little bike deal, and I see the homeless guys downtown, and I start giving them stuff and saying what's up, and I just go from person to person and place to place, and Sarah's standing there on the sidewalk, and she's just watching this happen. And she's seeing me do this. And she calls me the next day, and she's like, what is this Skate for Change thing? Like, what's it about? What do you do? And I basically just said, oh, it's me and like 20, 30 kids. We skate around. We give, can you guys still hear me? I can hear me. Can you hear me? Yeah. All right. I was like, we basically just skate around, and we're giving stuff out to homeless people. We just hand stuff out. She's like, I want to help you. I want to help grow this. What can I do? We put our heads together, and she's like, all right, I'm going to submit a story to this Red Bull magazine. It's called the Red Bulletin. Maybe they'll run a story on it, and it'll help you get some exposure. And I'm excited. There's like 20 of us at the time. She calls me back, and she's like, Red Bull loves it. They're going to do a story on you. This lady calls me. We do this interview. It's a really long interview. I'm super excited. I'm like, man, I'm going to be on the cover. That's for sure where they're going to put me. Like, I have all these, like, I deserve the cover is what I'm thinking. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. And the article comes out, and it's literally 4 sentences. It's like that big. And I was like, hey, anything. I'll take any exposure I can get. This is awesome. So we're excited. The magazine comes out. It was just this last February. I've got my little thing. It says, Mike does good, Meals on Wheels. So stoked about it. She calls me back, and she's like, hey, Mike, have you ever heard of this skateboarder named Ryan Sheckler? And if you don't know who Ryan Sheckler is, first of all, you're really old. And second of all, just go ask your 14-year-old daughter, because she knows who Ryan Sheckler is. He had his own reality TV show called Life of Ryan. He won the X Games before he was old enough to drive a car. You know, he's just this incredible skateboarder. And she's like, Ryan Sheckler's coming to Lincoln, Nebraska, and he's going to help grow Skate for Change. We're going to do this launch party. He's going to come, and he's going to go do Skate for Change with you. And I'm completely mind-blown. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Ryan Sheckler's coming to Lincoln, Nebraska to skateboard with me. So I take this superstar, and we start skating around Lincoln. We're handing out food, and we're handing out socks, and we're handing out water. And this guy who has his own reality TV show, and he's won the X Games, and he's a Red Bull-sponsored athlete, and he's got all this stuff, and he's in my city, in your state, and he's just feeding homeless people. And I'm completely inspired by the thought that, man, why would he even care about what we're doing? But he did. So he calls me, and he's like, hey, Mike, this is great. I want to invite you out to the X Games. What are you doing? I was like, watching you. What do you think I'm doing? He was like, so I get to go out there. I head out to the X Games, and it's just this awesome opportunity. You know, there's this celebrity golf charity thing that they've got going on. They're like, all right, great, you're going to show up, and you're going to play golf. And I was like, don't let these looks fool you. I've got something to show on the golf course. I'm just kidding. I can't even swing because my shoulder doesn't work, and I'm horrible. But I played putt-putt, so I've got a shot at being not a total embarrassment is what I'm thinking. And so I just show up to this golf thing, and I'm wearing these like pink plaid pants and a polo, 2 things I'm pretty against wearing. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna play golf with these guys. And there's this contest. It's worth $10,000. It's like a 65-foot putt. If you make it, you win $10,000. No one's ever made it before. But you got to make this 30-foot putt just to qualify for the 65-foot putt. So I set the ball down, and I kind of do one of these. I'm like, well, that looks about right. And I smack it, and it goes in. Hey, what do you know? 1 for 1. So I walk over in line, and I'm standing here. Keep in mind, this is like the X Games celebrity golf thing. So there's like X Games gold medalists and Matt Leinart, and all these famous people are there, and I'm standing here, and I'm like, I am from Littletown, Nebraska, in pink plaid pants. Like, what am I doing here right now? And I'm just like watching this thing, and there's this 65-foot putt. I basically set my ball down, and I kind of look at it, and I'm like, all right, putt, gods, help me here with something. And I smack it, and it takes a super hard break to the right, comes back around to the left, and then I swear it's literally like magnets for the last 10 feet and just in the bottom of the hole. And I do what any responsible adult would have done at the time. I flipped my club, I peed my pants, and I just started hugging famous people. It's like, come over here. I've seen you on TV. Get over here. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Mind blown at this moment. And I'm like, I have nothing else to prove to you people. I'm leaving. And so I'm just ecstatic. I'm completely ecstatic. So then Ryan Sheckler, he runs up and he grabs the microphone. And he's like, I can't believe Mike made that putt. No one's ever done it before. My foundation's going to match it. There's another $10,000. Mike's going home with $20,000 for his charity. And I'm completely mind blown. It was like that's the most money I'll ever raise in my life, in that like 65 feet right there. And it was awesome. And I'm like, I can't believe it. And I'm completely mind blown by just where I'm at and the things that have happened. And all these things continue to develop. And Skate for Change has grown from Lincoln into Omaha and then to Kansas City and then to Chicago and now into Seattle. And there are just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people doing Skate for Change all over the country. This little idea that I had on a Tuesday, this tiny little thing, just helping people, seeing people, finding value in the broken, the fallen, the guy that society had basically disregarded, has put me in a position to do the things that I get to do today. You see that little skate park that to some left something to be desired at first? It's grown into this giant youth center. It's going to be a skate park with an art gallery and a coffee shop and a concert venue open till 2 in the morning with outreach workers and an opportunity to help hundreds, if not thousands, of young people. It's a place where kids can go to find themselves. And I always laugh to myself when I think back. And when I was in high school, just laying in bed at night, looking at the ceiling, thinking, man, what am I going to be about? What's life going to look like? What am I going to do with the next 50 or 60 years or 5 years of my life? I never had this great plan. I never had this, like, you do this, this will happen, and this can happen, and all of a sudden life will work its way out, and you'll just, it'll be awesome. My only big dream as a kid was just to marry someone really hot, and I did, so go me. And it was like, that was it. That was like lifetime goal. But then I started doing something I was passionate about every day. I started doing something that mattered to me every single day. And today we're talking about momentum. Momentum's a tricky thing. You can't force it. You can't force fate's hand. You can't push something down a hill and say, this is going to work every single time. There's no statistics on it. There's no way to measure it. But you can feel it. You can feel when someone's got momentum. It's like when a game shifts and one team's down and then all of a sudden a bunch of crazy things happen and momentum's changed and the coach has to call a timeout just to try to stop it. But momentum's one of those things that you just can't stop. I think all of us in this room are like I was in high school. Every one of us has had that thing that we lay in bed at night and we look at the ceiling and we think, man, what if? What if life could help me figure out how to do this? I want to be about that. This dream, this thing, this idea, this thought, this place and time. What if I could just do this thing? You see, most of us, we just leave that dream on the shelf. And we put it in a jar and we just set it there and we just leave it. And we think, man, I'm going to get back to that someday. Someday I'm coming back to that thing. And it's going to look the same and it's going to feel the same and I'm going to figure out how to do it. But someday I'm coming back to that dream. I just got to go do this first. And all of a sudden that dream starts to seem farther and farther and farther away. Am I the only person in here who laid in bed at night and dreamed about something they wanted to do in high school? No. No way. I think this room's filled with people who do. But so many of us wake up in the morning, we put on some sort of outfit that we don't want to wear, we show up to work 15 minutes late, we take 10 extra minutes on our lunch break, and we try to leave 15 minutes early and hope our boss doesn't notice on our time card. That's like how most of us function in the day. We live for the weekends. We live for our 2 weeks of paid vacation. We live for this idea of a life that can look like something, something out of a movie that just can be this inspiring thing, but we never take that first step forward and we never fight for it. You see, when I think about momentum, I think you have to take that dream off of the shelf. You literally have to take it off the shelf and you have to open it up, maybe just a little bit, and see what happens. if we never take those dreams, if we never take those ideas, if we never take those concepts, those things that just make this beat at night, if we never take that off the shelf and give it a chance, we're never going to understand what it means to live a life filled with passion or purpose or momentum. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today a leader of a movement. This movement's filled with passionate kids, 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds, kids that come from single homes, kids that live in group homes, kids with no parents. The thing that means the most to them is that piece of plywood with metal and wheels on the bottom of it. But I stand before you today a leader of these young people. And we've got passion. But the reason we have passion is because we found that purpose. And we have that purpose because I was willing to take a dream off of a shelf and open it just a little and see what would happen. I know I'm not alone. My name's Mike Smith. I'm a skateboarder. I'm going to change the world because I skate for change. Thank you.